A very good evening to all my dear students. So welcome to today's session for auditing and assurance subject, chapter number 10. So I can see that Navneethan, Shivangini, Darshan, Rajiv Kumar Singh, Bhumika, these students have already joined. So students, have you gone through the module till where I have asked you to read? Quickly send in your replies. And are you finding this chapter interesting? So in our last session, like in the first session, we have covered section 141 relating to eligibility, qualification and disqualification of auditor. In the last session, we covered section 139 relating to appointment of auditors. Hana? Himanshu Pathak. So there is a query of Himanshu Pathak, page number. So Himanshu, this topic to we have yet to cover, na? So I'll clarify your doubt. This topic to we'll be covering today. And there were two students, na, Sayyid Yasir and I think Himanshu only. They had some doubt relating to first session, Hana. So I was not able to take that up in the last session. So please send your doubt. And Bhumika is saying that she is finding it easy and interesting. That's good. So Sayyid Yasir, please explain 10.4. So let me just spend 10 minutes in solving the queries, and then we'll start with section 140. So Syed has raised a query with respect to point number 6, point number C on page number 10.4. So this is basically relating to the eligibility, qualification, disqualification, whereby we have read that the person, relative or partner, they should not hold any security, right, in the client organization. Otherwise, it will call for what? Ineligibility. However, there is certain exception with respect to relative, Hana. And this C point says that, see, what is the exception? That up to face value up to 1 lakh can be held by the relative. Security of face value up to 1 lakh. However, if it exceeds the threshold limit, then a grace period of 60 days is given, okay, to the auditor to take the corrective action. But it will not apply to the auditor or his partner. It means that if the auditor or himself or his partner acquire any security in the client organization, so they are what? They are ineligible. The person becomes ineligible. That is, the auditor becomes ineligible. So here there is no option to sell off the shares within the grace period of 60 days. Okay? Is it clear? Is it clear? First of all, Sayyid, tell me whether it is clear or not. Grace is what? Extra period of 60 days. So that is not applicable for auditor or partner. Unke case mein to not even for a single day, they can hold any security. Okay? Point G on page number 10.6. So this again, Sayyid Yasir, we will be discussing this entire clause, that is section 141, subsection 3, clause G, in detail in this chapter again today itself. So your query will be resolved there. So apart from this C point, Sayyid, tell me whether it is clear. So Sayyid, I'm telling you, this point number G, I'll take up today in detail. There is a separate section given in your chapter with respect to section 141, subsection 3, clause C, right? And Himanshu ka kya doubt hai? So Himanshu has raised this doubt, that is with respect to section 144, Hana, whereby we have seen that certain services are prohibited, that is an auditor cannot render such services to the client organization. So it basically says, so these two paragraphs, these are basically having the explanation with respect to these terms, whether directly or indirectly. Whether sorry, not this, just a minute. Here, a person directly or indirectly. So this is been explained here. I clause में जो directly indirectly word आता है ना, तो it basically says either the individual himself, है ना, or through any of his relative. Like Mrs. X is delivering such services, है ना, of let's say she is maintaining the books of accounts of the company. Then Mr. X is what? He is not eligible. Or any other person connected or associated with the individual through any entity. Okay? Let's say Mr. X is having a proprietorship firm and he's a partner somewhere else also. So that firm is also what? Included here. If that other firm is giving the service, he also becomes ineligible. If Mr. X is in a partnership firm, which is, or Mr. X is an individual, and he's using the brand name of any CA firm, and that CA firm whose brand name has been used, let's say any international brand name has been used by him in India. So if that international firm is rendering any service to the client organization out of the list given in section 144, then again Mr. A becomes what? Ineligible. Okay? So these two paragraphs are basically about directly or indirectly. Same way with respect to a firm, either the firm itself, any or through any of its partner, or through its parent, subsidiary, associate, or any other entity whatsoever. So even if the parent of this audit firm is rendering any services as mentioned in section 144, these points, internal audit, design, actuarial services. Let's say ABC and Associates is the firm in question, uska parent company is rendering what? Internal audit service to XYZ Limited. So in this case also, ABC and Associates, it becomes what? Ineligible. Okay? So is it clear? Whose doubt was it? Himanshu, is it clear? Is it clear? Quickly tell me. Then we'll be starting with section 140. Again, another interesting topic for today. I hope the homework that was given to you have been done by each and every one of you. So Navneethan is saying, yes, ma'am, very much interested and very eager to learn new things. Okay, Himanshu, then it's fine if you have understood. See, students, see in this chapter, so far, just a minute. So a lot of topics to be completed today. And in the next session, I'll be starting with CARO 2020. So see, in this chapter, so far we have done section 141, whereby we have seen 4 subsections. Just a 5 minutes recap. Subsection 1 says what? Let me just take you through the module. So, module say it will be in detail. Only if the person is a chartered accountant, and if a firm is appointed, then majority of the partners practicing in India should be qualified as aforesaid. Subsection 2, it says what? That if a firm is appointed including LLP, then it should be what? Only the CA partner should be who is authorized to act and sign on behalf of the firm as an auditor. 3 says that read with Rule 10 of CAR, Companies Audit and Auditor Rule 2014, there are certain disqualifications. Okay? And subsection 4 says that if any of this disqualification is attracted during the year, then what will happen? It will be deemed that the auditor shall vacate the office of the officer of the auditor, and it shall be deemed to have created a casual vacancy. Clear? That was about section 141. Then in the last session, we did section 139, appointment of auditor, whereby in section 139, subsection 1, 5, 6, and 7, these subsections were relating to what? The appointment of first auditor and subsequent auditor in case of a government company and other than a government company. Subsection 2, 3, and 4 were with respect to what? Your rotation of the auditor, term of the auditor, right? Subsection 8 was with respect to casual vacancy, and we'll be we'll be doing what? Section 140, which is given after section 139 subsection 8 in your module. Subsection 9 and 10 pertains to what? Reappointment of auditor, and 11 says that audit committee ka recommendation you need to consider. In section 139, we have seen rule 3, rule 4, rule 5, rule 6. Remember, I hope this recap has helped you in recalling as to what we have done so far in this chapter. And as I'm repeating it again and again, that in this chapter, you are going to come across a number of provisions, है ना? And provisions में learning will be required, है ना? Understanding is obviously required, but learning after understanding. So keep on learning side by side after the session. Okay? So today we'll be starting with section 140, and the name of section is what? Removal, resignation, and giving of special notice. Removal, resignation, and giving of special notice. Okay? So this section consists of 5 subsections. We will be doing each and every subsection one by one. So as I told you, on page number 10.14, section 140, subsection 2 and subsection 3 are given, and we'll be doing that subsection first, like these two subsections before subsection 1. Okay? Now, subsection 2 and subsection 3 of section 140 are relating to resignation by auditor. So what is section 140? Removal, resignation, and giving of special notice. So first of all, we are doing what? Resignation. If you remember, when we did section 139 subsection 8, we have seen that in case of the casual vacancy, in case of company other than a government company, the same will be filled by the board of directors within 30 days. However, where the casual vacancy is caused due to resignation, the same need to be approved by the members in a general meeting to be convened within 3 months. So I told you that the member should also know as to what is the reason why the auditor has resigned before the expiry of his term. Okay? Now, just tell me that, is it possible for a professional like a chartered accountant, for a person who is going to give his expert opinion on the financial statements of the company, is it possible, is it practically possible that he just tell the management that, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I'm resigning and I'll not be working as the auditor of the company? So the answer is no. He is in a professional position. He has to deliver an expert opinion based on his audited financial statements. Like the confidentiality, the reliability of the financial statement is going to increase. So he'll act in a professional manner. So section 140, subsection 2 and subsection 3 says that there are certain responsibilities for an auditor when he resigns from the position of the auditor of the company. Okay? So what are those? So when an auditor is resigning, yeah. So we have seen it will call what? Casual vacancy. So when the auditor resigns as the auditor of a company, he need to file within 30 days of his resignation Form ADT 3 as given in Rule 8 of the company's auditor and auditor rules. And this form is to be given to the ROC and company. And in case of a government company, it shall be given to ROC, company, and the CAG. And what shall that form state? It shall state the reasons and the other facts as to why he is resigning. Okay? So I'll do one thing. I'll just show you a practical form just for your better understanding. So the form is what? ADT. Sorry, just a minute. ADT 3. Okay? See, Form ADT 3. Rule 8 of company's auditor and auditor rules, notice of resignation by the auditor. So all the details about the company will be given, right? About the auditor, the PAN number, the form name, and see what are the reasons for resignation. Whether the letter of resignation is attached, what are the other facts? This is exactly what you are studying now, that he'll state the reasons and other facts. Okay? and then it will be digitally signed by the auditor, and his resignation letter and like all membership number and everything will be given. Okay? So let us just have a read at it from the module. So section 140 subsection 2 of the Act states that the auditor who has resigned from the company shall file within a period of 30 days from the date of resignation a statement in the prescribed form, which is ADT 3 as per Rule 8 of Companies Audit and Auditor Rules 2014, with the company and the registrar. In case of the companies referred to in section 139(5), that is government companies, it shall also file such statement with CAG along with company and registrar. The auditor is going to indicate what reasons and other facts. And this is exactly what we saw here. Now, what are the reasons? What are the other facts? Okay, is it clear? Now, what in case of failure by the auditor to file such a form? So section 140 subsection 3 is there, which says that in case the auditor fails to, just a minute, in case there is failure on part of the auditor to file such a form, ADT 3 with the ROC company or the CAG as the case may be, then the penalty will be rupees 50,000 or the remuneration for that assignment, audit assignment, from which he has assigned, whichever is less. And in case of continuing failure, a fine of rupees 500 per day, subject to a maximum of rupees 2 lakhs. Where is it given? It is given in section 140 subsection 3. Let me just a minute. So in case of the failure, the auditor shall be liable to a penalty of 50,000 rupees or the remuneration of the auditor, whichever is less. And in case of continuing failure, with further penalty of 500 rupees for each day after the failure during which such failure continues, subject to a maximum of 2 lakh rupees. Okay? Okay? And students, just read this case study, and whose doubt was it? Just rectify it. This is 2. Earlier, it was actually 5 lakhs, है so there is some printing error. So just go through it quickly. Quickly send in your replies. Okay. So CA Donald was appointed as the auditor of PS Limited at remuneration of 30,000. However, after 4 months of continuing his services, he could not continue to hold his office of the auditor as his wife got a government job at a distant place and needs to shift along with her to the new place. Thus, he resigned and did not perform his responsibility relating to filing of statement to company and ROC, indicating the reasons. How much fine? Hannah? So, for non-compliance of section 140 subsection 2, the auditor shall be punishable with fine which shall not be less than 50,000 or the remuneration, whichever is less, but which may extend up to 2 lakh rupees. Hannah? Under section 140 subsection 3 of the Act, thus the fine under this shall not be less than 30,000, which may extend up to rupees. Is it clear? Varsha, Bhumika, Himanshu are saying it is clear. Others also please reply. Quickly send in your reply. So this was section 140 subsection 2 and subsection 3. Now, what was the name of section 140? It was what? Removal, resignation, and giving a special notice. So we have done what? Resignation. Now we'll be doing removal, which is given in section 140 subsection 1. एक स्टोरी की तरह समझो कि ऑडिटर को अगर रिजाइन करना है तो कौन से सेक्शन में फॉल करेगा? सेक्शन 140 सबसेक्शन 2 and 3. 140 subsection 2 क्या कहता है? When the auditor resigns, तो within 30 days, है ना? ADT 3, as per rule 8 के according, auditor has to file the form with the ROC company, and in case of government company with the CAG also, stating the reasons and other facts. And in case of failure, कौन सा section आता है? Section 140 subsection 3, which says 50,000 or remuneration whichever is less, and continuing default के लिए 500 per day subject to a maximum of rupees 2 lakhs. It says, is it clear? Yes, if the remuneration is 3 lakhs, Sayyed Yasir Ahmad, then ठीक है? I hope your doubt is clear. Okay, so Swati, Hera, Shubham, Darshan, Logasundar, Sayyed, Shivangini, Navneetan, Guduru, Manisha are saying, ma'am, it is clear. So now section 140 subsection 1, which is with respect to removal of auditor before the expiry of the term. So before the expiry of the term, if the company wants to remove the auditor, देखो simple है, बहुत simple है. देखो क्या करना है. सबसे पहले तो first of all, the board meeting will be held to pass a board resolution stating that such person will be removed. And students, see, the way I told you that it is not practically possible for an auditor to just resign like that without fulfilling all the responsibilities. Same way, the company cannot tell the auditor that from tomorrow onwards you need not come to the company. There are responsibilities on the company also. See, this auditor is going to give audited financial statement based on which the shareholders, the other stakeholders like your bankers or your debtors creditors, they are going to take what much more informed decision. है ना? So when the company is removing any auditor before the expiry of the term, there should be solid grounds. And the company cannot just remove an auditor like that. First of all, a board meeting will be held whereby a board resolution will be passed authorizing that, first of all, deciding that such auditor will be removed. And further, students, the removal of the auditor before the expiry of the term requires the central government approval. And not only a central government approval, it requires a special resolution of the members also. So these three things are required. Okay? Now let us look at this cycle along with the time period and the form number that is given. Okay? So central government approval required होगा. देखो ऐसे थोड़े ना कोई भी remove कर देगा auditor को, है ना? ऐसे तो the board can always tell the auditor of a company कि don't give such an opinion, otherwise we'll remove you. No, that cannot happen. Why? Because if the company wants to remove the auditor before the expiry of his term, then central government approval is required. And again, you will see in the form, the reasons are to be given. Okay? So first of all, the board meeting will be held. And when the board resolution is passed, whereby it is decided that such auditor will be removed and authorizing the filing of application with the central government, within 30 days of that, the application to CG will be made. As and when the CG approval is received, right? Within 60 days of receipt of such approval, a special resolution will be passed, right? And when you are removing any auditor, any person, any auditor of the company, then opportunity of being heard will be given to the auditor. Okay? So these are the keywords. Let us just read it from the module. Section 140 subsection 1, and it is given where? It is given on page number. Let me just take you. Page number 10.25. So removal of the auditor before the expiry of the term. So 3 steps क्या है? Board meeting में board resolution, central government का approval and special resolution plus opportunity of being heard. ठीक है? So according to section 140 subsection 1, the auditor appointed under section 139 may be removed from his office before the expiry of his term. So we are saying what? Before the expiry of the term, only by a special resolution of the company after obtaining what? Central government approval in terms of Rule 7 of the company's audit and auditor rule 2014. Okay? The application to the CG for removal of the auditor shall be in the form ADT2. Let us now have a look at the form ADT2. So, Form 82 application for removal of auditor from his or their term before the expiry in terms of Rule 7. See all the details about the company. Then details of application clearly indicating the grounds for seeking removal. So what are the grounds? Whether accounts have been qualified during the last 3 years, whether opportunity have been given to the auditor, okay? Whether any civil or criminal proceedings are pending between the company and the concerned officers, the date of appointment of the concerned auditor, whether special notice has been received, right? Whether all due audit fee have been paid or not, pendency of audit. So all these information will be given, and who will be giving this? To be digitally signed by the let's say board of directors, any of the directors of the company. Okay? So ऐसे ही नहीं किसी को remove कर सकते. There need to be ground and the application has to be filed with the central government. So now let us have a look at it again. So we have seen that it says that a special resolution is required and central government approval is required, Rule 7 ke according, right? The application to the central government for the removal shall be made in form ADT2 and along the fees. It shall be made within 30 days of the resolution. तो यहाँ पर कितना time है? 30 days of the board resolution. Then when the approval is received, within 60 days of receipt of the approval of the company for passing the special resolution, the company shall hold a general meeting. तो यहाँ पर कितना time है? 60 days. तो as and when the CG का approval is received, तो यहाँ पर दो बातें हैं. एक तो application make कब करना है? Within 30 days. और जब approval आ जाए तो उसके 60 days के अंदर the board meeting needs to be convened. And it is important to note that before taking any action for removal before the expiry of the term, the auditor is given what? Reasonable opportunity of being heard. Yeah, is it clear? Yes, the special resolution will be passed in the general meeting, which shall be convened within 60 days of the receipt of the approval of central government. See, when the auditor has been removed, so he'll be given a reasonable opportunity of being heard. And one more thing is there, which we will discuss when we'll be doing section 140 subsection 4. Okay? So this was what? Section 140 subsection 1, right? Now there is another section, section 140 subsection 5, which says that, so this we have seen section 140 subsection 4, that first of all board meeting will be held within 30 days of the board resolution, application to CG along with the fees, ADT2 and Rule 7. Once the approval is received, the GM general meeting will be held within 60 days of receipt of CG approval. Reasonable opportunity of being heard will be given and special resolution will be passed at the general meeting. Okay? Now section 140 subsection 5. So it basically says that, see, if the tribunal, the National Company Law Tribunal, on its own, CO motto is what? On its own. Or an application by the CG or any of the person concerned. If the tribunal is satisfied that the auditor has directly or indirectly acted in a fraudulent manner or abated, encouraged any fraud or colluded in fraud, then it will direct the company to change its auditor. So what we are saying that if the tribunal has received any application or CO motto on its own or on an application. Application can be received from the central government or any person concerned, like let's say any officer or MD of the company. And the tribunal is satisfied that the auditor has actually directly or indirectly acted in a fraudulent manner or abated, that is what, encouraged or colluded in any fraud. Then what will tribunal direct? It will direct that the company will change the auditor, right? One more thing, that if such application is received from the central government, then within 15 days of the receipt of such application, the tribunal shall make order that such auditor shall not function, shall not work as the auditor of that company, and the CG may appoint another auditor. So what we are saying, that if that application is received from the central government, then in that case, within 50 days, the tribunal needs to pass an order that such auditor shall not work as the function as the auditor of the company, and the CG may appoint another auditor, right? And students, very, very important. The auditor so removed under section 140 subsection 5 by the order of tribunal due to what? Charges of what? Acting fraudulently. है ना, फ्रॉड की वजह से अगर किसी ऑडिटर को सेक्शन 140 सबसेक्शन 5 में ट्रिब्यूनल रिमूव करने का ऑर्डर देते हैं, such removed auditor shall not be eligible to be appointed as auditor of any company, not only this company, any company, very, very important, for a period of what? 5 years. For a period of 5 years, 5 सालों के लिए he is banned from being appointed as the auditor of any company. And the penal provisions of section 447 will follow. See, as such, section 447 of the Companies Act is not in detail in your Companies Act, but in your syllabus, but only a reference is given here that if any of the auditor is found is been removed under section 140 subsection 5, will not be eligible to be appointed as auditor of any company for a period of 5 years, right? And shall also be liable for action under 447. ठीक है? So section 447 क्या कहता है? That if any of the person is found guilty for fraud, है ना, then fine can be imposed, which shall not be less than the amount involved and may extend up to 3 times of such amount involved. And it may also have what? Imprisonment, not less than 6 months, and which may extend up to 10 years, or both fine and imprisonment. Hana? So such strict are the rules that such auditor shall not to be appointed for as the auditor of any company. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? So this was what section 140 subsection 5, जहां पर ट्रिब्यूनल को अगर किसी ने कंप्लेन किया है, कोई एप्लीकेशन दिया है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने या अग्री विद एनी पर्सन ने, or on its own, the tribunal is satisfied that the auditor has acted in a fraudulent manner, abated or colluded in any fraud. Abated, where is this word given? It is given here. Abated is what? He has encouraged someone to commit a fraud. Hana? In relation to the company or director or officers, it may by order direct the company to change its auditor. However, if the application is made by CG, and in fact, this is my favorite chapter for MCQs. It shall within 15 days of receipt of such application made an order that he shall not function as an auditor, and the central government may appoint another auditor. It may be noted that an auditor, whether individual or firm against whom the final order has been passed by the tribunal under this section 140 subsection 5, shall not be eligible to be appointed as auditor of any company for a period of 5 years from the date of passing of order, and the penal provisions of section 447 will apply. Okay? So basically, in section 140 subsection 1, where we have seen that central government approval is required, what is the purpose? So basically, it is saying that it is meant to safeguard the auditor's independence by imposing strict condition like prior approval of the central government. Otherwise, I told you na, that the company can always tell the auditor ki aap aisa report mat do, otherwise we'll remove you. Hana? So since central government ka prior approval is required, Hana, so this is going to safeguard the auditor's independence. Clear? Is it clear? So this was what? Section 140 subsection 5. And now we are left with section 140 subsection 4. Okay. So this we have done and this also we have done. Okay. So section 140 subsection 4. Okay. So section 140 subsection 4 is what? Appointment of auditor other than retiring auditor. Appointment of auditor other than retiring auditor. Students, when we were doing section 139 subsection 9, if you remember, we saw that a retiring auditor will be can be reappointed if he is not disqualified, he has not given his unwillingness to get appointed, and the company has not passed a special resolution or has not what was that? The company has not passed a special resolution that some other auditor will be appointed, or providing expressly that such auditor will not be appointed. Remember, we have done this in the last session. Okay? So now what is this case? Appointment of auditor other than the retiring auditor. So let's say the AGM of the company has been approaching where the auditor needs to be reappointed. And students, this is not applicable where section 139 subsection 2 is applicable. देखो जहां पर rotation of auditor की वजह से term of auditor has been completed, there to change of the auditor will be required now. So we are not talking about that situation. We are talking about a situation whereby, let's say, in case of an audit term, one term of 5 consecutive years have been completed, and now before reappointing that auditor for the second term of audit firm, for the second term of 5 consecutive years, before that a special notice is received by the company, whereby the requisite numbers of the shareholders which can give a special notice is received by the company that they are going to appoint someone else as the auditor, or providing expressly that this retiring auditor will not be appointed. Now, what is the course of action for the auditor for the company? Okay, we are discussing this. Yes, Aisha, CG will appoint. Okay. Now, section 140 subsection 4, is it clear what we are discussing? We are saying that where a special notice, like before the AGM, whereby this auditor was to be reappointed because the term has not expired. जहां term complete हो गया वो वाला discuss हम कर ही नहीं रहे हैं. So that is why I have written except where 139 subsection 2 is applicable. वहां तो किसी और को ही appoint करना पड़ेगा ना. So where a special notice by the requisite number of shareholders under section 115 of the Companies Act is received by the company, providing expressly that the retiring auditor will not be reappointed, or appointing a firm other than the retiring auditor. Now, in that case, see what will company do? Once such special notice is received, it will send such, the company shall send such special notice, copy of special notice to the auditor also, that see, we have received such special notice, whereby it is specifically mentioned that you will not be reappointed, right? On receiving such special notice, the retiring auditor, he may make a representation in writing. He will give his point of view in writing. He'll send it to the company, and he may request the company that to all the members to whom you are sending a notice of the meeting, please mention therein that I have made such a representation, and also send my representation along with that notice. Okay? Now it shall be the duty of the company to first of all to send give an intimation, to give an information in the notice that so and so representation has been made by the retiring auditor, and to send such representation to all the members to whom the notice of the meeting is to be given. ठीक है. Now let's say the representation was received too late. Now it cannot be sent to the members, or because of the default of the company, the representation could not be sent. Then such representation which the auditor has made, देखो वो भी तो लिख के देगा ना कि भाई मेरा point of view ये है. It will be read out at the meeting at the AGM. Further, such representation shall be filed with the registrar of companies. ठीक है. So opportunity of being heard तो है ही, that will be there. Along with that, what is the additional right that has been given to the auditor is what? Right to representation. वहां उसमें he can always write the managing director is saying this, but this is not the case. The true facts are this, or whatever is the case. ठीक है. Now there is one more point relating to this, which says that if, see, this right to make the representation and to ask the company to send the representation to the members, or the right to read out the representation in the meeting, है ना? If let's say someone makes an application to the tribunal that such right is been abused by the auditor, let's say the managing director of the company, he has some information that the auditor is going to say some incorrect things or some wrong facts about the company, or let's say the managing director, and the tribunal is satisfied on an application by the aggrieved. Aggrieved is what? Angry person, like who is going to get impacted by such representation. And tribunal is satisfied that yes, the auditor is abusing such right. Abusing the right means using the right in an inappropriate way. So in such a situation, the tribunal may order that such representation will not be made and it will not be read out at the meeting. Hana? So when the auditor has been removed before the expiry of his term and a copy of special notice has been given. So what are the rights available to the auditor? Opportunity of being heard, plus right to make a representation and right to read out that representation in the meeting if it is not sent to the members. Okay. Abhi, let us first read it from the module, then I'll be taking up your doubts. So what is this? Section 140 subsection 4. So what was the name of section 140? Removal, resignation and receiving of what? Special notice. So this is section 140 subsection 4 is about that special notice. So section 140 subsection 4 lays down the procedure to appoint an auditor other than the retiring auditor who was removed. So in continuation of section 140 subsection 4. Special notice shall be required. So special notice under section 115 receive hota hai na? For a resolution at AGM, appointing an auditor as auditor a person other than the retiring auditor, or providing expressly that a retiring auditor shall not be reappointed except where the retiring auditor has completed a consecutive year of 5 years, or as the case may be 10 years as provided in section 139 subsection 2. तो वहां पर आपको स्पेशल नोटिस की स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन का रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, बिकॉज वो तो फिर एक ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस में हो रहा है ना, वेयर बाय द टेन्योर ऑफ द ऑडिटर हैज एक्सपायर्ड, नाउ न्यू ऑडिटर will be appointed. On receipt of the notice of such a resolution, the company shall forthwith send the copy thereof to the retiring auditor. Where notice is given of such resolution and the retiring auditor makes, with respect thereto, a representation in writing to the company, not exceeding a reasonable length, and requested notification to the members, the company shall, unless the representation is too late for it to do so, that means let's say kali meeting hai na, now it cannot be sent, तो अगर भेज सकते हैं, the company shall in any notice of resolution given to the members state the fact, तो पहले तो fact state करना है, if the notice has not been given to the members, that the auditor has made a representation, and send a copy of the representation to every member of the company to whom the notice of meeting is sent. ठीक है, representation भी भेजना है, whether before or after the receipt of the representation by the company. बेशक अगर आपने notice of meeting to the members भेज भी दिया है, but still if it is possible, the company is going to send a copy of the representation to all the members जिसको भी notice of the meeting गया है. And if a copy of the representation is not sent as aforesaid, मतलब अगर जो ये लिखा है it is not sent, because either it was received too late or because of the company's default, the auditor may, without prejudice to his right of being heard orally, that will stay intact, opportunity of being heard to milega hi, require that the representation shall be read out at the meeting. ठीक है? Further, if the representation is not sent as aforesaid, मतलब members को नहीं गया, a copy there shall be filed with the registrar. Now, curtailing the right. Curtailing is what? You are not giving the right. Cancelling the right. Which right? Regarding circulation of representation in case of appointment other than the auditor. Circulation of the representation. If the tribunal is satisfied on an application either by the company or any of the aggrieved person, I gave example of कि MD है या कोई भी officer of the company है, that the rights conferred by section 140 subsection 4, क्या right है? The circulation of copy of representation or the representation be read out at the meeting are being abused. Abused is what? Used in inappropriate way. In inappropriate way. Then the copy of the representation may not be sent and the representation need not be read out at the meeting. Okay? Is it clear? So section 140 subsection 4 क्या deal करता है? That appointment of auditor other than the retiring auditor. So we will do one thing. We will quickly revise entire section 140 and then we'll proceed with section 177. Okay? Quickly a recap of just, I think 4-5 minutes. See. So what is the name of the section? Removal, resignation and special notice. So removal कहाँ contained है? Section 140 subsection 1 में. Resignation कहाँ contained है? 140 subsection 2 and 3 में. Then notice कहाँ है? Section 140 subsection 4 में. And removal का जहाँ आता है वहाँ पे tribunal का भी, if you remember कि tribunal CEO moto या सब section 140 subsection 5. ठीक है? So first of all, resignation में क्या है कि if the auditor is removed, let me just take you through the, just a minute. I told you na these capsules that are available on your BOS knowledge portal, very very useful. तो देखो ये पढ़ते हैं. Removal, resignation, ठीक है? See, removal of auditor. नहीं, अभी हम पढ़ रहे थे resignation ना. See, responsibility of the auditor in case of casual vacancy by resignation, section 140 subsection 2. So resignation by auditor of a government company or company controlled by SG or CG. So form ADT 3 file करना है within 30 days with the company registrar and CAG. A resignation by auditor of other company here form ADT 3 within 30 days with company and registrar. And what shall it state? The reasons and other facts. ठीक है? And in case of failure, section 140 subsection 3 क्या बोलता है? 50,000 or remuneration whichever is less. Continuing default में 500 per day after the first day during which fault continues, subject to a maximum of rupees 2 lakhs. ठीक है? This is section 140 subsection 2 and 3. Subsection 1, it says that if the auditor is to be removed, first of all, special resolution चाहिए, central government का approval चाहिए in terms of Rule 7, and a reasonable opportunity of being heard होगा. Central government को किस में आप लिखोगे? ADT 2 में along with the fees. Board meeting will be held जहाँ पर आप authorize करोगे what? Filing of CG application. Within 30 days आप CG को apply करोगे, and once the CG approval is removed, within 60 days the CG of receiving the CG approval, the company shall hold a general meeting whereby the special resolution will be passed. ठीक है? Then there was section 140 subsection 5 whereby it says that where this tribunal either on an application by central government or any other person or suo motu, if it is satisfied, it is what? Tribunal, that the auditor has what? Of the company has acted in a fraudulent manner, है ना? या abated or colluded in any fraud in relation to or the company or its directors, it will direct the company to change the auditor. And अगर ये CG ने application दिया है, then within 15 days it will ask it will order that such auditor shall not function as the auditor, and the CG may appoint another auditor. ठीक है? And we have seen that where such auditor has been removed on account of section 140 subsection 5, so he shall not be eligible to be appointed as auditor of any company for a period of 5 years, plus the provisions penal provisions of section 447 are going to follow. Okay? And section 140 subsection 4, it says that where a special notice is received by the company that appointing a person other than the retiring auditor, providing expressly that such auditor shall not be reappointed. On receipt of such notice, the company shall send a copy of it to the retiring auditor, and where such notice is given to the retiring auditor, and the retiring auditor makes a representation in writing and requested notification to the members. So company shall state the fact of that the representation has been made and send the copy of the representation to every member. Right. Further, if the copy is not sent because either it was received too late or because of the fault of the company, then what will be done? It shall be read out at the meeting, plus it shall be filed with the registrar of the company. Plus, we have seen that where the tribunal is satisfied on an application that such right has been abused, then such right will be curtailed, cancelled. That is, representation will not be sent out or it shall not be read out at the meeting. So this was about section 140, which is removal, resignation, and receiving of what and giving of special notice. ठीक है? See, Varsha, Varsha say where this presentation is and how to access. See, it is not any audited financial statement. या ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. जैसे if you have to have a look at ADT 1, ADT 2, 3, I'll ask you to Google it. है ना? Same way with respect to any audited financial statement, public domain it is available. Such kind of representations. So these are basically, see, in extreme cases, Hana, the auditors resign, the auditors are removed before the expiry of their term, Hana. And as such, it will depend upon what will be contained in the representation. It will depend upon what the circumstances as to what is the matter, why the auditor has been removed, what the auditor has to say, Hana. So as such, there is no set format, Hana, ki yehi sab likhna hai. It will depend upon the circumstances of the case, but still you can always search on the public domain. Okay? So quickly send in your reply, student. Is it clear? And now we'll be starting with section 177. So a lot of topic to be completed today. Quickly send in your reply. Is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. So section 177 is where it is on page number. Before that, please tell me, in section 139, we have read about audit committee. कहाँ पर पढ़ा था, if any one of you remember? Namnitan, which tribunal part? 140 subsection 5 बताना है या 140 subsection 1 बताना है? So section 177 is given on page number 10.22. So if you remember, when we read section 139 subsection 11, we saw that where a company is required to constitute, yes, Bhumika, you are correct, section 139 subsection 11. So when the company is required to constitute an audit committee, right? And audit committee के लिए provisions कहाँ contained है? Section 177. Then all the appointments of the auditor, including casual vacancy of the auditor, shall be made after taking into consideration the recommendations of the audit committee. And you have read rule 3 also, rule 6 also, जहां पर क्या आता है, हम ये देखते हैं कि the audit committee shall consider the qualification and experience and after that recommend करेगा board of director को, जो board of directors किसको recommend कर देंगे? Members को. Clear है? यही पढ़ा था. ठीक है, ठीक है. Now, what all companies are required to constitute audit committee, that we are going to see under section 177. What is the function of audit committee, and what like uh, audit committee consists of what members? We are going to discuss that. Very simple topic, a quick 5 minutes का topic है, ठीक है? So listed companies, listed public companies, they are required to constitute audit committee. Along with that, all public companies having a paid up share capital of more than equal to 10 CR, or all public companies having a turnover of more than equal to 10 CR, or all public companies having an aggregate outstanding loans, borrowings, debentures, deposits more than 50 CR. Here equal to sign is not there. It is what more than. यहाँ पे क्या more than equal to 10 CR, यहाँ पे क्या है more than equal to 100 CR, and यहाँ पे क्या है more than 50 CR. ठीक है? So the paid up share capital or turnover or outstanding loan or borrowing debentures, as the case may be, is to be seen as on the last date of audited financial statement. जो भी आपका last audited financial statement है, उस date पर आप देखोगे with respect to what? The paid up share capital, paid up capital, turnover or the outstanding loans, borrowings, debentures, deposit. ठीक है? Now, see, we have seen that who all are required to constitute audit committee. Now, students, if you remember, whenever we have had a discussion with respect to management and those starts with governance in chapter So students, there was some network issue. I hope it is fine now. So we were discussing about what audit committee, whereby we have seen that as to what all companies are required to constitute an audit committee. So we have seen that listed public companies, they are required. Along with that, all public companies with a paid up capital of more than equal to 10 CR, or the public companies having the paid up turnover of more than equal to 100 CR, or the public companies having in aggregate outstanding loans, borrowings, debentures, deposits more than 50 CR. And all this is to be seen as on the date of the last audited financial statement. Now, what constitutes an audit committee? So basically, the audit committee consists of directors of the company. Students, I hope you can now, the audio video are clear now. Send in your replies. Are we good to go? So the audit committee consists of directors of the company, and it consists of minimum 3 directors, whereby majority should be independent directors. So it will consist of what? Minimum 3 directors, out of which majority should be what? Independent directors. Now, independent directors are basically the directors which are not related to the promoters of the company. They are not having any association with the company as such, but they have the ability to understand the financial statements, right? So they have that financial knowledge, but they are not associated with the company as such. Okay? So audit committee consists of directors of the company, out of which majority should be what? The independent directors, right? Now, why the audit committee is to be framed or constituted, right? So there are certain functions of the audit committee that are given, and few of the functions to you are already aware, that making the recommendation for appointment of or remuneration or terms of appointment of auditor, है ना? ये तो हमने देखा है ना? Reviewing and monitoring the auditor's independence and performance and effectiveness of audit process. Examination of financial statement and auditor's report, right? Further, it also performs other important functions. It helps in ensuring better standards of corporate governance. Corporate governance is what? A system by which the company is directed, right, or controlled. Okay? So basically, see, management is responsible for the day-to-day functioning. For what? For the day-to-day functioning. But overseeing the overall financial reporting process is done by what? Done by audit committee, which is one of the example of those charged with governance. Hai na? It consists of directors itself, but majority should be what? Independent director. Minimum should be 3 directors. And whenever any recommendation of the auditor is to be done, the recommendation of audit committee will be considered. Also, they perform function like recommendation of remuneration, term of appointment of the auditor, reviewing and monitoring the auditor's independence, performance and effectiveness of audit process, examination of financial statements and auditor's responsibilities, right? Then ensuring better standards of corporate governance. I told you what is meant by corporate governance: a system by which the company is governed, the company is controlled or directed. Okay? So audit committee basically oversees what? The overall financial reporting process, the overall audit process. Okay? So is it clear? Is it clear? So Darshan, now tell me, is your doubt with respect to audit committee clear? Okay? So this was about section 177. Now let us go to section 141, subsection 3, clause G, Hana, in detail now. And Sayyid Yasir, your doubt will be resolved here. Ceiling or number of audit. If you remember, we have done this when we were doing section 141. So quickly, before the break, we will finish off with this section. And then after the break, we'll be starting with another important section, that is section 143. So where is it given? Section 141, subsection 3, clause G. It is given on page number 10.27. So see, independent direction, Darshan, I have told you that the directors, as such, those who are not related to the promoters of the company, Hana, they are not with the, they do not have the association with the company as such, right? But they have the ability to read and understand the financial statements, independent of the company, independent directors. Okay? Darshan, is it clear? So audit committee, Darshan, it is basically a committee which is required to be constituted under section 177. कौन से companies constitute करते हैं जो हमने देखा है. क्या function audit committee के, that we have also seen, right? ठीक है. Now section 141 subsection 3 clause G. So this we have done. Section 141 subsection 3 clause G with respect to ceiling on number of audit. So when we were doing section 141 subsection 3 clause G, है ना, जब entire section 141 किया था, tell me, what did I tell you that what should you keep in mind in order to understand this point? Why this point has been introduced in order to maintain the dash of audit work. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly, students, send in your replies. Yes, quality of audit work. Manisha, Bhumika, Manish, Rajiv, Shubham, Darshan, Himanshu. Absolutely correct. ठीक है. So हमने क्या पढ़ा था? Whatever we have done earlier with respect to this clause, and only one or two additional point we are going to do now. ठीक है. So first of all, we have seen that if you remember when we were doing rule 4 of companies audit and auditor rules, और ये rule 4 कब पढ़ा था? जब हमने पढ़ा था section 139 subsection 1, that a certificate will be obtained from the auditor that the appointments so made will be within the limits of section 141 subsection 3 clause G of the Companies Act. Remember? So ये हमने पढ़ा था that the auditor is going to give a certificate. The auditor is going to give a certificate whereby he will be mentioning that the appointment so made will be within the limits specified under section 141 subsection 3 clause G. Further, section 141 subsection 3 clause G क्या कहता है? That the person shall be ineligible if he's already in full-time employment elsewhere, or if that person or partner of the firm. Let me just take you through the module. It is C. First of all, certificate must be obtained from the auditor, right? And section 141 subsection 1, 141 subsection 3 clause G says that a person who is in full-time employment elsewhere, or a person or partner of a firm holding appointment as its auditor, if such person or partner is at the date of such appointment or reappointment holding appointment of more than 20 companies, and in these 20 companies, one-person company, dormant companies, small companies, private company having paid up share capital of less than 100 CR shall not be included, and such person shall not be eligible for appointment as auditor of the company. तो ये 20 companies का limit कब देखना है? On the date of appointment. That if on the date of appointment that person or partner of the firm is holding what? 20 companies का audit, except for one-person company, dormant company, small companies, and private limited company having a paid-up share capital of less than 100 CR. ठीक है? Now, we have also discussed that if there are 3 partners in a firm, so the total number of audit that the firm can obtain is what? 20 with respect to each partner, that is 60. Okay? Also, let's say ABC and Associates is a chartered accountant firm, and this A is also partner in ADE and Associates. Then on account of A, what should be the total number of audit that Mr. A as the partner of ABC and as the partner of ADE can obtain? What is the total number of audit? So it is again 20. क्योंकि वर्कलोड देखना है ना आपको, ठीक है? तो अब ये 40 नहीं होगा कि यहाँ पर भी 20 ले लिए, यहाँ पर भी 20 ले लिए, पर इंडिविजुअल, ठीक है? So it should be 20, right? Now many of you were saying that, ma'am, what will happen if any auditor holds the appointment of more than 20 companies? So in that case, so see, go through this case study as a homework. बहुत clarity आएगा आपको इस topic पर. Absolutely correct. Himanshu, Varsha, Manish, Shubham, Guruji. नहीं 40 शुभम, नो 20. अल्टीमेट इंटेंशन देखो ना क्या है. 40 में तो फिर वो ऐसे तो लूप होल हो जाएगा ना ये. शुभम, इज इट क्लियर? सो एज पर द काउंसिल गाइडलाइन, just a minute, hereby specifies that a member of the institute in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he holds any appointment of more than the specified number of audits. ठीक है? And again, it is mentioned here that every partner के लिए आपको देखना है, and here it is mentioned that an individual, if he is a sole proprietor, let's say a person, he is a partner in 3 firms, then in totality 20 audits on account of that person. ठीक है? ठीक है. Then it says that the number of audit is to be seen as on the date of appointment. Further, it says that the CA or the audit firm, they are going to maintain a record of all the audit assignments. Okay? A list that what all audit assignments are held by so and so auditor. Further, with respect to the tax audit assignments under the Income Tax Act, Section 44AB of the Income Tax Act, with respect to tax audit assignment, this limit is what? 60. So the specified number of tax audit assignment that an auditor as an individual or a partner of the firm can accept is what? 60 numbers. ICAI has notified that the chartered accountant practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts in a financial year more than the specified number of tax audit assignments. Okay? So is it clear? Is it clear? So a very simple topic. And Sayyed Yasir, is your doubt clear now? Section 141, subsection 3, clause G. Is it clear now? So just go through the entire case study and whatever is mentioned in this paragraph, number 7. It is going to be very clear to you because it is very easy, है ना? और हमने पहले ये discuss किया हुआ है. ठीक है? So now we'll be starting with what? Powers and rights of auditors. But before that, let me just understood. ठीक है, understood. Good. Let me just take you through. See, these are the sections covered in this chapter. So we have covered appointment of auditors, removal, resignation of auditor, and giving of special notice. We have also covered eligibility, qualification, disqualification of auditor. See section 142 now, read it as a homework. It basically says that who decides the remuneration of the auditor. So you will see that the members, they decide the remuneration of the auditor. And in case of first auditor, since he is appointed by the board of directors, it is decided by the board of directors. That's it. Hana? Where is it given? I'll just tell you the page number. You just go through it. And in case of any doubt, we can discuss that in the next session. Okay, just a minute. So it is on page number 10.25. A small paragraph at the top is given. Okay. And then 144 we have done auditor not to render certain services. Okay. Today it will be my endeavor to complete what? Section 143. Let us see kitna ho pata hai, and we'll be able to complete these section 145 and 146 also. Okay. So we will do one thing. We will take a break of 10 minutes here. After the break, section 143, which is again another important section of this chapter. Okay. So a quick break of 10 minutes. So students, welcome back after the break. So before the break, we have done section 140, section 177, and section 141, subsection 3, clause G. I hope it is clear. Diksha, both the limits are separate. Section 141, subsection 3, clause G. Statutory audit का अलग है, tax audit का अलग है. 20 for statutory audit and 60 for tax audit. So Darshan, these are the clarifications given by the council members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So whereby it is mentioned, it has been, see it is mentioned here now. In exercise of the powers conferred by so and so clause of the CA Act, the Council of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India hereby specifies, to a kind of clarification. Okay. So is it clear? Now let us start with section 143 relating to powers, rights of auditors. Powers, duties of auditor and auditing standard. This is the name of section 143. And this section consists of 15 subsections. So first of all, though, let us just have a look at these subsections. Quickly tell me, have you done reporting of fraud by the auditor? So see what we are doing powers and duties of auditor. So duty to report with respect to fraud. Quickly tell me, have you done section 143, subsection 12, 13, 14, 15 earlier? Quickly send in your replies, and in which chapter? So in chapter number 5, you all have done section 143, subsection 12 to 15. Okay. So I'm not repeating it here because this topic is covered in much detail in chapter number 5. Okay. So further, these three subsections, subsection 5, 6, 7, relating to audit of government companies. So so basically a reference to these subsections is there in this chapter, and this is done in detail in chapter number 13. Like you will be doing it in detail in the last chapter, chapter number 13. Okay. So यहाँ पे otherwise भी there is a reference. ठीक है. Section 143, subsection 8. This we will be doing when we will be doing SA 600 in the last session for this chapter. ठीक है. So कितने subsections हो गए हमारे section 143 के? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 7 are left. ठीक है. So Bhumika is saying yes, ma'am, we have done. Darshan is also saying. See, Himanshu, how can you say that any auditor accepts the audit beyond 20 without knowing that there is a limit? Like you are expected to know all the rules and regulations now when you're working in a profession. And otherwise, like don't make such MCQs. Okay. So summary of section 143 is given here. So under subsection 1, we'll be reading about powers and rights of auditor. Subsection 2 we'll be reading about auditor shall make report to members. Subsection 3 is auditor report shall also state certain matters. Subsection 4 is matters in negative and qualification. The reasons are to be given. 5, 6, 7 relates to government company. 8 relate to audit of accounts of branch office. Subsection 9 and 10 are with respect to compliance with auditing standards. We are saying it again and again from the very first chapter that SA 200 follow करना है, 210 follow करना है, 300, 315. कहाँ लिखा है फॉलो करना है, तो दैट इज मेंशन इन सेक्शन 139 सबसेक्शन 9. Then section 139 subsection 11, in fact this is relating to Caro 2020, which we will be doing in the next session, है ना. So today we have how many subsections left? 3 4 5 6 subsections. ठीक है. So let us start with the powers and rights of auditors. ठीक है. See, when the auditor is conducting the audit of a company, he need to have certain powers and rights, है ना. And later on when we'll be doing duties, I'll be saying that the rights come with what duties. So auditor needs to follow all those duties. ठीक है. Now what are the powers? First of all, let us have a look at all the 5 powers. That is right of access to books. Second, right to obtain information and explanation from officers. Third, right to receive notices and to attend general meeting. Fourth, right to report to members of the company on accounts examined by him. And fifth, right to lien. Okay? So these are what the powers of the auditor. So students, before going into detail of powers of the auditor, let me just touch upon section 128 of the Companies Act. If you remember, in the very first session, I told, with respect to this chapter, I told you that you will be needing knowledge of section 128 to 138 also, which will be covered in your company's law subject, corporate law. However, wherever the reference will be required, we'll be discussing. So now here is a discussion of section 128. Anybody having any idea as to what section 128 is about? So we will not be doing as such section 128 in detail, but only what is required for the purpose of this topic. Quickly tell me. Send in your replies. See, section 128 is with respect to books of accounts of etc. to be kept by the company. Right? So as such, I'm saying that I'm not doing the entire section in detail, but we'll be just discussing upon the topic in this section, which is required for the purpose of this topic. So it basically says that every company shall prepare and keep its at its registered office. So every company shall keep at its registered office the books of accounts and other relevant books and papers and financial statement for every financial year, which shall give a true and fair view of the state of company affairs. ठीक है. तो कहाँ पर रखने हैं books of accounts को, other relevant documents को? Registered office में. ठीक है. Provided that if the books of accounts and other relevant papers are kept at such other place. तो पहला तो क्या है कि आपको कहाँ रखना है कंपनी को? Registered office में. If it is kept at such other place as the board of directors may decide, है ना. So board of directors decide करेगा तो उस अलग जगह पर भी रख सकते हैं other than the registered office, provided the company has filed within 7 days with the ROC a notice in writing of the full address of such place. So AOC 5 form is to be filed with the ROC stating the full address of that other place. ठीक है. Further, where the company has a branch of office. See, when we were doing this part now, it basically says that every company should keep its books of accounts, other relevant papers at its registered place, including that of the branch office also. Okay? Then the second subsection, it says that where the company has a branch office, whether in India or outside India, it will be assumed that the company has complied with the provision of subsection 1, provided the books of branch office are kept at that branch office. वहां पर रख लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, provided proper returns from the branch office are sent to the registered office. ठीक है। तो अगर ब्रांच ऑफिस के जो बुक्स हैं वो ब्रांच ऑफिस पर ही रखे हैं, वेदर द ब्रांच ऑफिस इज इन इंडिया और आउटसाइड, तो it will be assumed that section 128 subsection 1 is complied with, provided that proper summarized returns periodically are sent by branch office to its company at its registered office. ठीक है. So why we are referring to this section here, this is going to be clear once we are done with this point. देखो, what is this point? Right to access of books. See, unless and until auditor will have the right to access the books, he will not be in a position to conduct the audit of the financial statement of the company. Okay. Now, what is included in books, accounts, and vouchers? First of all, let us have a look at it. So, books and accounts and vouchers include all books which have a bearing. Bearing is what? Connection with, or are likely to have any connection on the accounts, whether these be usual financial books, statutory statistical books, memorandum books, inventory books, costing records, koi bhi books hain. Voucher includes all or any corresponding which may serve to vouch. Vouch is what? Confirm. For the accuracy of the accounts. Thus, the right of access is not restricted to books of accounts alone, and it is for the auditor to determine what record or document is necessary for the purpose of the audit. Okay? So, books of accounts, vouchers, sab kuch the auditor has the access. Also, let us have a look at the definition of the term officer, which is given in Section 2, Clause 59 of the Companies Act. So we have done this earlier also. Officer includes any director, manager or key managerial personnel, or any person in accordance with whose directions or instructions the board of directors or any one or more of the directors is accustomed to act. Okay? So what is this right to access? So first of all, बुक्स में सब कुछ आ जाएगा, अकाउंट्स, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स, वाउचर्स, है ना. So section 143 subsection 1 of the act provides that the auditor of the company shall at all times shall have a right of access to the books of accounts and vouchers of the company, whether kept at registered place or any other place. ये हमने पढ़ा ना अभी section 128 subsection 1 में, that the books of accounts are to be kept at registered place. However, other place पे भी रख सकते हैं, provide if the board of directors is dissolved, provided within 7 days a notice is filed with the registrar stating the full address. ठीक है. So that is why any other place, and is entitled to require from the officers. Now, who all are the officers? You all know of the company such information and explanation as it may consider necessary for the performance of his duties. Further, section 143 subsection 8 क्या कहता है? The right of access is not limited to those books and accounts maintained at registered or head office, so that in case of a company with branches, the right also extends to branch records, if the auditor consider is necessary to access thereto as per section 143 subsection 0. So sirf, see, when we will be doing SS 600, na, you will see that there is a concept of principal auditor, branch auditor, है ना. So here we are talking about principal auditor, that is the company auditor. So he has the right to the books, to the branch records also. Though the audit of that branch may be conducted by some other branch auditor, but section 143 subsection 8 gives the right, the power to the auditor to have the access to the branch records also. ठीक है. So देखो, when the auditor is conducting an audit and he is aware that he has a power, he has a right, statutory right has been given by section 143 subsection 1. And what is that right? Right to access to books. बहुत logical है ना. Keywords क्या है? That the auditor of the company has at all times access to books, accounts, and vouchers, whether kept at registered office of the company or any other place. अब ये कहाँ से आया? Section 128. अब हमने थोड़ा सा पढ़ा, वहां से आया. And he is entitled to require the officers to give such information explanation as he may consider good, and it also extends to what? The branch reports. Simple. Is it clear? Quickly read this example. Quickly, in a minute, read this example. Then we'll be going to the next point. Simple है ना? ये भी बताओ. quickly send in your reply. Is it clear and are you finding it easy? So the next right is right to obtain information and explanation from officers. See, if you remember, we have discussed in chapter number 3 about various audit procedures. है ना? One of the audit procedures is what? Inquiry. है ना? And one of the essays says that auditor can obtain written representation. So there is a right that auditor can obtain information and explanation from the officer. And students, in absence of such a right, it won't be possible for the auditor to conduct the audit effectively. है ना? कुछ information होगी that is available with the directors only, that he can obtain by inquiring, right? And let's say the directors, they do not provide the information, or the officers. So this is what right to obtain information explanation from officers. So if the officers do not provide the information, then what is the option available to the auditor? He can always mention that in his report that such and such information has not been provided. And in fact, when we will be doing section 143 subsection 3, you will see that there is a specific clause which requires the auditor to state that whether he has sought all the information that he considered necessary. Hana? So this is again another easy right to obtain information and explanation from officers. See, this right of auditor to obtain information from officers of the company, such information and explanation as he may consider, think necessary for the performance of his duty as auditor, is a wide and important right. In the absence of such right, the auditor would not be able to obtain details on amount collected by the directors from any other company, firm or person, as well as any benefits in kind derived by the directors from the company, which may not be known from the examination of the books. It might be possible that certain information is there which is not known, which cannot be known merely by just going through the financials. For the auditor has to inquire the officers or directors of the company. Okay? So when the auditor is not provided such information required by him or is denied access to books, his only remedy would be to report to the members that he could not obtain all the information explanation he has required considered necessary for the performance of his duty. And I'm telling you that section 143 subsection 3 जब पढ़ेंगे आपको ये point specifically दिख जाएगा that auditor has to report to the shareholders that whether he have received all the information or not. Okay? So second right, again, another statutory right, which is very, very simple, right to obtain information explanation from officers. Who are officers? Now you all know section 2 clause 59 of the Companies Act. Okay? Now the third right to receive notices and to attend general meeting. And where is it given? Section 146 of the Companies Act. Okay? So when we will be doing powers and duties, now you will see a number of sections will come. Section 143 का कुछ part आएगा, section 145 आएगा, 146 आएगा. ठीक है? So what is this? So basically, students, this section 146 now, it discusses the right as well as the duty of the auditor to receive the notices and to attend the general meeting. So what is the language? Hana, section 146 is reproduced here. It says that all notices of or other communications relating to any general meeting shall be forwarded to the auditor of the company. Shall, तो mandatory हो गया ना, तो it is what right of the auditor, and shall be forwarded to the auditor of the company. कौन forward करेगा? Company, तो duty of the company हो गया. And the auditor shall, unless otherwise exempted by the company. The auditor shall he shall attend either by himself or through authorized representative, who shall also be qualified to be an auditor any general meeting and shall have the right to be heard at such meeting on any part of business which concerns him as an auditor. So this is a right as well as the duty of the auditor. So section 146 contains the right of the auditor to receive notices and to attend general meeting, and it says that the auditor is entitled to attend any general meeting. So this right is not only restricted to the right to at which the accounts audited by him are to be discussed, but any general meeting, and he has the right to receive all the notices and other communication relating to general meeting which members are entitled to receive and to be heard at any general meeting in any part of business which concerns him as an auditor. So सिर्फ उसी मीटिंग का अटेंड करने का राइट नहीं है जहां पर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स ऑडिटेड बाय हिम आर लेड डाउन. एनी जनरल मीटिंग टू रिसीव ऑल द नोटिसेस दैट अदर मेंबर्स आर आल्सो रिसीविंग, है ना, एंड राइट टू बी हर्ड एट एनी जनरल मीटिंग. हाँ, कौन से मैटर्स पे विच कंसर्न्स हिम एज एन ऑडिटर. So this is a right as well as the duty of the auditor given by section 146. Is it clear? Is it clear? Simple hai. That is why I am just quickly going through these rights. Is it clear? Shall we proceed with the D point, which is what? Right to report to the members of the company on the accounts examined by him. See students, when we will be doing chapter number, when you will be doing chapter number 11 now, you will see that the report of the auditor, the audit report is addressed to the shareholders, to the members of the company. So this is again a right to report to the members of the company on accounts examined by him. Okay? So see, when the accounts are examined by the auditor and he is reporting with respect to those financial statements, he shall give his report after taking into consideration the provisions of the Act, like whether provisions of Companies Act have been complied with, accounting and auditing standards, whether accounting standards have been complied with, auditing standards on auditing have been complied with, matters which are required to be included in audit report under provisions of this Act. So when we'll be doing section 143 subsection 3, we will see that there are a list of 10 matters that auditor को इन पर report करना ही करना है. Or under any order, for example, CARO 2020, वहां पर भी क्या है? Additional reporting. So basically it is saying right to report. तो क्या क्या report करना है? एक तो when the auditor is reporting, he'll consider that it should be in compliance with the provisions of the Companies Act, accounting standard follow हुए नहीं और auditing standards follow हुए नहीं है. Whatever matters are required to be given under the various provisions of this Act or rule or any of the order. ठीक है? And what is the language that the auditor uses when he reports to the auditor? That whether to the best of his information and knowledge, the said accounts, the financial statement give a true and fair state of affairs as at the end of financial year, and the profit and loss account for the year, and such other matters as may be prescribed. So in chapter number 11, now you will see the audit reports. Sample audit reports are given in your module, and you'll see this is exactly the same language as is used in the report. ठीक है? So क्या बताना है? That true and fair view दे रहा है नहीं क्या? Of the state of company affairs as at the end of financial year, that is the balance sheet as on this date, and profit and loss account for the during the year under audit. ठीक है? So this is what right to report, and you will see when we will be doing duties, this is one of the duty also. ठीक है? Now right to lien. Quickly tell me what is meant by lien. Easy है ना? अभी तक क्या क्या पढ़ा अभी तक हमने? Right of access to books, right to obtain information explanation from officers, right to receive notices and to attend general meeting, right to report to members of the company on accounts examined by him, and last but not the least, right to lien. So this is a general right. ठीक है? Lien क्या होता है? Quickly send in your replies. Lien. So right to keep possession. Okay? So this is a general right. As such, not given under any of the sections, but it is a general right. So see, in terms of general principles of law, okay, if a person is in a lawful possession of someone else's property, पूरा सुनना उसके बाद query raise करना. If a person is under a lawful possession मतलब उसने चोरी नहीं किया है किसी और का कुछ सामान, या any illegal means से acquire नहीं किया, lawful possession जिसका वो property था उसी ने खुद दिया, उसके knowledge में है, of somebody else's property on which he has worked, जिस पे उसने कुछ काम किया था, he may retain the property for non-payment of his dues on account of the work done on the property. For example, अगर हम audit की बात करें, तो अगर auditor ने किसी books of accounts पर, with respect to a client, the auditor has worked on those books of accounts, and the auditor is having a lawful possession of such books. Matlab, with the maybe approval of the board of directors, then he is having the lawful possession on which he has worked and with respect of which the payment is due. He may exercise right of lien, that is, he may keep the possession of such books. Okay? On this premise, auditor can exercise lien on books and documents placed at his possession by the client. By the client matlab lawful possession hai, for non-payment of fees for work done on the books and documents, and the same view is taken by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England. So kya view hai Institute of Chartered Accountants of England ka? Documents retained must belong to the client who owes the money. अगर A Limited से पैसा लेना है, वो आपका client था, तो B Limited के papers नहीं उठा लोगे, A Limited के. Documents must have come into possession of the auditor on the authority of the client, that is lawful possession. They must not have been received through irregular or illegal means. In case the company is a client, they must have been received on the authority of board of directors. The auditor can retain the documents only if he has done work on such documents assigned to him, and such of the documents can be retained which are connected with the work on which fees have not been paid. Okay? Now, students, this is what a general principle of law, general lien, a right to lien, general right है, ठीक है? But student, just think practically. अभी हमने section 128 पढ़ा ना, हमने वहाँ क्या बोला था? That the books must be kept at the registered office. And practically how the audit is conducted, the books are kept at registered office. And the auditor are given the books at the premises of the client. है ना? वहाँ पर आप as an audit team को papers दिए जाते हैं, books दिए जाते हैं, they go through those papers. They conduct basically in case of big companies क्या होता है? At the client premises, the audit is conducted now because books are to be kept at the registered office. So if you look at this right, it suffers from legal and practical limitations. Practically, it is not possible and that the auditor is taking the books of accounts of the client to his office. Okay? So that is why it is mentioned that under section 128, books of accounts of the company must be kept at the registered office. These provisions ordinarily make it impracticable for the auditor to have possession of the books and documents. The company provides reasonable facility to the auditor for inspection of the books of accounts by director or others authorized to inspect under the Act. Taking an overall view, it seems that though legally auditor may exercise right of lien in case of companies, it is mostly impracticable for legal and practical constraints. Is it clear? Is it clear till there? So though this is a right, but practically if you think about this right, so practically it is not possible na ki auditor ke office mein books of accounts of the auditor hai. Now tell me, can auditor exercise the right to lien on his working papers? Working papers जो auditor के होते हैं, ये किसकी property होती है? अच्छा ये बताओ. Is it the property of the company or the auditor? Quickly send in your reply. Working papers of auditor. जो भी अभी तक आपने audit documentation chapter number 3 में पढ़ा, किसकी property है ये? Quickly send in your replies. The impracticable दर्शन अब clear हुआ, ये आपने पहले लिखा होगा. Impracticable क्यों है? General lien, because हम क्या कह रहे हैं, अगर auditor के पास lawful possession में है, ऑडिटर अपने ऑफिस में है, वहां पर क्लाइंट के बुक्स हैं, बट प्रैक्टिकली तो कंपनी के केस में, हम कंपनी की बात कर रहे हैं ना, कंपनी के केस में सेक्शन 128 रिक्वायर्स दैट द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स आर टू बी केप्ट एट द रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस. एंड प्रैक्टिकली कैसे होता है ऑडिट? दैट ऑडिटर एंड हिज टीम दे विजिट द क्लाइंट प्लेस, वहां पर बैठ के ऑडिट करते हैं. दे लीव द बुक्स ऑफ द अकाउंट्स ऑफ द कंपनी देन एंड देयर इटसेल्फ. ठीक है? सो दर्शन, इज इट क्लियर नाउ? Yes. So working papers जो हैं, these are the property of the auditor himself. So the question of right of lien of auditor on his working paper does not arise. Okay? And further, tell me, can the company have access to the working papers of the auditor? We have done this in chapter number 3. Now you are going to tell me where have we done this. Quickly, Sanina replies. So all of you have mentioned it correctly that working papers are the property of the auditor. So SQC 1 में पढ़ा था ना हमने that the working papers are the property of the auditor. He may at his own discretion make available the portion or extracts of the working paper available to the client, but at his own discretion. Yeah. So where is it this mentioned? Just read this paragraph. It is just what we have done in chapter number 3. Yes. Bhumika correct. Chinmoy correct. Darshan correct. Varsha correct. At his own discretion. Where is it mentioned? He may, at his discretion, make portions or extract from audit documentation available to the client, provided it should not undermine the validity of the work performed. Remember? Is it clear? So, question of lien on the working paper does not arise. Is it clear? His working papers, see this line, very important. His working papers being his own property, so the question of lien on them does not arise. Okay, is it clear? So this was with respect to what powers of the auditor, whereby we have seen क्या क्या power किया है discuss. Power, right to have access. Access to books, etc. Second was what? Right to obtain information and explanation from officers. Clear? Then कोई doubt है तो बताओ. Right to receive notices and to attend general meetings. Right to report to members on accounts examined. And last but not the least is what? Right to lien. Are all the 5 rights clear? See, with respect to right to lien, it is basically said that right तो है, but अगर आप practical implementation देखोगे ना, so practically ना, this right cannot be exercised. So what is the language? Let us just have a look at it again. Where were we? So students, there was some network issue. I hope it is resolved now. You are able to view and hear the lecture. Shubham, Darshan, Varsha, Diksha, Rajiv Kumar, Chinmoy, Aisha, Himanshu, Bhumika. Please reply. Is it clear now? So we have done what? Rights, powers of the auditor. Okay, whereby we have covered section 146 also. Okay. Now we'll be starting with what? Duties of auditor. Duties of auditor. Right? So, so what are the duties? So, first duty is, again, section 143 of the Companies Act specifies the duties of the auditor in a quite comprehensive manner. It is noteworthy that the scope of the duties has generally been extending over all these years. Students, see, when we will be doing about the duties, and in fact, you will see some part of it in chapter number 11 also. You will see that it is mentioned that, first of all, you will see that it is mentioned that the auditor shall state, Hana, when you will be doing duty to, let's say, report, Hana, you will see that the auditor shall state. Then there will be certain few points under the head, auditor shall also state. Then you will see that there are further new points under the head, auditor shall further state. So don't get confused. Why is there addition to the duty of the auditor to report? Because it has been extending all over these years. Whenever there has been any changes in the Companies Act or any other new provisions have been included, then the duties are also extended. है ना? So पहले 5 points पर report करना था, फिर in additional 5 points पे और report करना है, additional points for reporting करना है. So that is why you will see that the auditor shall report, the auditor shall also state, the auditor shall further state, है ना? And this you are going to witness in chapter number 11 also. So don't get confused कि इसका क्या मतलब है, ठीक है? So the first duty of the auditor as given in your book is what? Duty of auditor to inquire on certain matters. Duty of the auditor to inquire. So it is not mentioned to state. It is saying what? To inquire. What is the difference between the term inquire and state? That we are going to discuss after we have discussed these 6 points A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay? So the first duty of the auditor is to inquire, and you will see that these duties are more or less contained in section 143 subsection 1 and subsection 3. Okay? So, duty of the auditor to inquire on certain matters. Okay? So, there is a duty of the auditor to inquire on 6 matters. What are these 6 matters? First, A, that is, it is the duty of the auditor to inquire as to whether the loans and advances made by the company, given by the company, whether these are properly secured, if these are given on security, and the terms on which these have been given, that is the repayment schedule or the interest payments, whether these are not prejudicial to the interest of the company. Prejudicial is what? Harmful to the interest of the company. So ऐसा तो नहीं है that any interest-free loan has been given or the interest is charged very less, which is prejudicial, harmful to the interest of the company or its members. ठीक है? So the auditor will inquire from whom? From the officers of the company, that whether the company has given any loans and advances, if it is against the security, whether it has been properly secured, and whether the terms on which these have been made, these are what? Prejudicial to the interest of the company and its members. Okay? Secondly, it will be the duty of the company to inquire as to whether the transactions of the company which are presented merely by book entries are prejudicial to the interest of the companies. So the auditor is going to inquire the members, see what are entries made, transactions shown merely by book entries. See, let's say if the same party has been debited and credited, merely book entries, adjustment entries तो कोई पास नहीं की है, ठीक है, without flow of any cash transaction, ठीक है. So whether entry shown merely by where there is no flow of money basically, एंड आपने पहले सेल्स शो कर दी, उसी पार्टी से परचेजेस भी शो कर दी, उसको नेट ऑफ कर दिया बैलेंस को. सो मेयरली बाय बुक एंट्रीज ऐसे कोई एंट्री तो नहीं की है. ऑल्सो वेदर the company not being an investment or banking company. So this point is not applicable in case of investment and banking company. So in case of companies other than banking and investment company, it will be the duty of the auditor to inquire whether so much of the assets of the company as consist of shares, debentures and other securities have been sold at a price which is less than the price at which they have been purchased. So in simple words, if you're conducting the audit of a company other than investment or banking company, so as per section 143, it is the duty of the auditor to inquire from the officers that whether any of the investments that is coming in the asset sides of the company, whether it is sold at a price which is less than the purchase price. ऐसा तो नहीं किया कि लॉस पे आप इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को सेल करे जा रहे हो. D, whether loans and advances made by the company has been shown as deposits. है ना, ऐसा तो नहीं है that any loans and advances which has been given to, let's say, any related party, whether these are shown as what deposits in the books of accounts, whether the personal expenses have been charged to revenue account, the personal expenses of, let's say, any of the board of directors, whether that has been charged to the revenue account. The auditor is going to inquire that. Where it is stated in the books of accounts of the company that the shares have been allotted for cash, whether the cash has actually been received, and if no cash has been received, whether the position as stated in the books of accounts is correct, regular and not misleading. So in case of the shares which have been allotted for cash, whether cash has been received or not, and if not, whether the same has been reflected in the books of accounts or not. So with respect to these 6 points which are required by section 143, the auditor needs to inquire. I told you that it is mentioned the auditor needs to inquire, state nahi likha hai. ठीक है? So what is meant by inquire? So it basically says that the auditor should make a report to the members with respect to these points in case he finds any of these matters in adverse. So see, there is a duty of the auditor to inquire with respect to these 6 points. But if he finds them in place, for example, if there are no personal expenses which are charged to P&L, then it is fine now. So he need not report on that. If he finds that no loans and advances have been given as deposit, it is fine. ऐसा ही होना चाहिए था. He need not report on them. But yes, if he finds that loans and advances made by the company has been shown as deposits, your personal expenses have been charged to revenue, अब ये गलत हो रहा है ना, then so if the answer is in adverse, then he need to report. ठीक है? So as per one of the opinion of the research committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India on section 143 subsection 1, the auditor is not required to report on the matter specified in subsection 1 unless he has any special comments to make on the items referred therein. अगर कोई special comments है तो आप mention करो, otherwise you need to just inquire. Now see, it will not relieve the auditor of his duty to inquire. Inquire तो करना ही है, ठीक है? If he is satisfied as a result of the inquiries, he has no further duty to report that he is so satisfied. ये लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है कि सब कुछ ठीक है. Because students, when we will be doing, this is what section 143 subsection 1. When we will be doing section 143 subsection 3, you will see कि सब कुछ ठीक होगा भी ना, वहां पर भी ऑडिटर को लिखना है शेयर होल्डर्स को कि हाँ मुझे इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल गई, हाँ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स ठीक से बना हुआ है, ये सब लिखना होगा. तो यहाँ पर सेक्शन 143 सबसेक्शन 1 में क्या है, इंक्वायर करना है. कुछ स्पेशल कमेंट्स हैं आपके ऑडिटर के, देन ही नीड टू मेंशन. In such a case, the content of the auditor's report will remain exactly the same. ठीक है? So it could be said that the auditor should make a report to members in case he finds answer to these matters in adverse. कुछ अगर special comments हैं auditors के या adverse remarks हैं with respect to these 6 points, then only he need to mention. So that is why the word here is what? Inquire. And a straightforward 4-mark question can always come. Very, very important. That what are the matters in terms of section 143 subsection 1 where the auditor is required to inquire. ठीक है, तो क्या क्या है? Whether loans and advances, if these are given against a security, whether properly secured है नहीं, terms prejudicial तो नहीं है, transactions presented merely by book entry prejudicial to the interest of the company तो नहीं है. Company not been investment banking company, so much of the assets, so जो भी investments होगी asset side पे आएगा ना, as consist of shares, debentures, other securities, whether these have been sold at a price which is less than the price at which they have been purchased, whether loans and advances made by the company has been shown as deposits, whether personal expenses have been charged to revenue, and whether it is stated in the books of accounts that the shares have been allotted for cash. And if cash has actually been received, and if it has not been received, then whether the actual correct, the position shown is what? True, correct, regular, and not misleading. Okay? And the duty is just to inquire in case of any adverse remark or special comments, then he need to report in the in his audit report. Tell me, is this point clear? Very, very important. Quickly send in your replies. This was the matters given under section 143 subsection 1, where the auditor needs to inquire on 6 matters. Shall we proceed with duty to report? And duty to report में कुछ part you all have done when we were doing right to report. ठीक है? Quickly send in a reply with respect to inquire points relating to inquiry by auditor. ठीक है, clear. Let's proceed. See, Aisha, maybe loans and advances have been given to some related party. ठीक है? Is it clear? So interest will be received na, लेकिन deposits पे it is not sure that the interest will be received or not. So that is why they are shown as what? Deposits. Aisha, is it clear? Now, duty to report. So we have seen when we were doing right of the auditor to report that the auditor needs to report on, has a right, and here we are saying he has also a duty to report on the accounts examined by him, and thereby he shall take into account the provisions of this act. Remember, accounting standard, auditing standards, matters which are required to be considered, and the language will be this. If you remember, I told you that the same language will be used. Okay? Now, section 143, as per section 143 subsection 3, the auditor's report shall also state. तो सबसे पहले तो क्या state करेगा auditor's report? That to the best of his information and knowledge, the said accounts financial statement give a true and fair view. ठीक है? Then the auditor's report shall also state. I told you ना why also state ये ऐसे words हैं. And you will see students, यहाँ पर क्या है? State. अब inquire नहीं है. तो in these 10 points given in section 143 subsection 3, यहाँ पर तो लिखना ही लिखना है. Whether auditor has a answer in positive or negative. वहां पर क्या था 143 subsection 1 में, if the auditor has any special comments or adverse remarks to be made, then he needs to mention. अगर सब कुछ ठीक है, then no reporting is required. Here, even if everything is fine with respect to these 10 points, reporting is to be given. Are you able to understand the difference between those earlier 6 points and these 10 points? 10 points अभी discuss करेंगे, but ये बताओ difference clear है या नहीं? Then only I'll proceed. And Aisha, whether your doubt is clear or not. So quickly send in your replies. ठीक है. So see, just consider in your mind that when the auditor is giving his report, he's giving his report to the members of the company, that is to the shareholders, है ना? तो वहां पर see what basically happens is there are two bodies, the shareholders and the board of directors or the management of the company. So shareholders ने अपना पैसा दिया हुआ है company को. The board of directors, the members of the company, the board of directors or the management of the company, they are using those funds and they are generating profits in the company. They are giving dividend to the shareholders. Okay? Now, Why auditor has been appointed? So that he can give his expert opinion as to whether financial statement reflected true and fair view. So when you're considering these 10 points, you just imagine that the auditor is telling the shareholders ki shareholders suno, I've received all the information. The financial statements are prepared as per accounting standards. The balance sheet and P&L is as per the books of accounts, है ना? तो auditor को appoint ही तो इसलिए किया ना, so that he gives the audited financial statement, he gives his audit report, and the confidentiality, the confidence of the shareholders increases, है ना? They have more trust on the financial statement. Why? Because they have been now audited by an expert. Okay? So when we are discussing these 10 points, just keep in mind that you are the auditor of the company and you are telling the shareholders कि shareholders सुनो, अब हम report कर रहे हैं. पहले तो हमने क्या बता दिया था, financial statement reflected true and fair view. Further in 10 points, since it is required by 143 subsection 3. अब shareholders को तो नहीं पता ना accounting standards follow हुए हैं नहीं. Shareholders को तो नहीं पता ना कि सारी information मिली या नहीं. तो we as auditor, we are going to give that information to the shareholders. देखो, when we were doing assertions in chapter number 9, I told you that management को कुछ information लिखनी है तो financial statements में लिख के देगा ना. Management उठा के phone या newspaper में थोड़ा ना disclose करेगा कि building इतना है या plant and machinery इतना है. Same way, if the auditor has to give certain information to the shareholders, auditor will mention it in his audit report, and the shareholders can always go through the auditor's report. ठीक है? Is it clear? तो अभी सारे पॉइंट्स तो नहीं हो पाएंगे. लेट्स सी जितने भी पॉइंट्स होते हैं, बस जस्ट कीप इन माइंड दैट यू आर द ऑडिटर ऑफ द कंपनी. आपने ऑडिट कर दिया है, फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट बहुत बढ़िया है, ठीक है, एंड नाउ यू आर गिविंग द फाइनेंशियल, बहुत बढ़िया से आई मीन दैट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट रिफ्लेक्ट अ ट्रू एंड फेयर व्यू. ठीक है, नाउ यू आर गिविंग एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन, सो ऑल्सो स्टेट, और ये स्टेट करना ही करना है. सो फर्स्ट पॉइंट, whether he has sought and obtained all the information and explanation which to the best of his knowledge and belief was necessary for the purpose of his audit, and if not, the details thereof and the effects of such information on the financial statement. देखो, when we were doing कहाँ पर पढ़ा था ये हमने, राइट में पढ़ा था ना. देखो, if you remember, नहीं, रुको, राइट टू रिपोर्ट. हाँ, when we were doing right to obtain information वाला topic, right? So it was mentioned, if the information is not, when the auditor is not provided with the information, his only remedy would be to report to the members that he could not obtain all the information that is required for the purpose of his audit, है ना? So the only remedy, क्या solution है कि भाई members को बता दो, तो यही क्या हो गई, duty हो गई. So what is the duty? 143 subsection 3C. So see the language that is used in actual report. Now, next session I'll try to share with you the actual report, practical report of any company. वहां पर आप देखोगे ऐसे लिखा होगा, we have sought and obtained all information and explanation which to the best of our knowledge and belief was necessary for the purpose of this audit. और नहीं भी मिली है तो वो भी मेंशन किया है, मिला है तो भी मेंशन करना है, नहीं मिला तो भी मेंशन करना है. बिकॉज यहाँ क्या है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल शैल मतलब मैंडेटरी हो गया ना, स्टेट मेंशन करना है. ठीक है. सेकंड, वेदर इन हिज ओपिनियन, सो कैसे लैंग्वेज होगा, इन आवर ओपिनियन प्रॉपर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स एज रिक्वायर्ड बाय लॉ, सेक्शन 128 में आपने पढ़ा ना, have been kept by the company so far at a PS from our examination of books, and proper returns adequate for the purpose of audit have been received from the branches not visited by us. ये भी पढ़ा था ना सेक्शन 128 में, that proper returns आ रहे हैं नहीं, even if the books of accounts of the branches are kept at the branches. ठीक है. थर्ड पॉइंट में हम क्या बोल रहे हैं, whether the report on the accounts of branch office, so ये आपको ना अच्छे से क्लियर होगा जब हम ऐसे 600 पढ़े. ठीक है. So I told you there is a concept of principal auditor or company auditor and branch auditor. तो जहां पर the audit of branch is conducted by branch auditors, not by company auditor. So there the company auditor has to deal with the report of the branch auditor in his report, है ना? वो ऐसे 600 में डिटेल करेंगे, में डिस्कस करेंगे. So this point says whether report on accounts of any branch of the company under subsection 8 by a person other than the company auditor has been sent to him under the provision to that subsection and the manner in which the same has been dealt with in his report. ठीक है, डिटेल में हम नेक्स्ट सेशन में या नेक्स्ट टू नेक्स्ट सेशन में ये डिस्कस करेंगे. ठीक है. देन डी पॉइंट, whether the company's balance sheet and profit and loss account dealt with in report are in agreement with books of accounts and returns. अब shareholders को यही तो बताना है ना कि shareholders सुनो, the company balance sheet and profit and loss dealt with in the report are in agreement with the books of accounts. तो क्या बोल रहे हैं, whether in our opinion, so in our opinion the financial statement comply with the accounting standards, है ना. तो अभी तक we have done 5 points. तो यहाँ पर आपने क्या देखा, I told you that there are total 10 points. तो आपने क्या क्या देखा कि यहाँ पर stating all these points is mandatory because it says the audited report shall also state. But 143 subsection 1 में आपने क्या पढ़ा था, inquire करना है, कोई special comments है या adverse है, then the auditor is required to mention that. ठीक है. So I hope these 5 points are clear. Quickly send in your replies. 5 points clear है. Then this 6th point, the observation or comments of the auditor on financial transactions or matters which have adverse effect on the functioning of the company. देखो, अगर कोई observation comment नहीं है ना, तो भी not applicable लिखना पड़ेगा. We do not have any observation comment. और अगर observation comment है तो भी mention करना है. On the financial transaction or matters which have an adverse effect on the functioning of the company. So transaction, financial transaction like your sale purchase. Let's say any sale has been done at a very less price. Any purchases have been done by the company at a very high price. ठीक है? Having an adverse effect on the functioning of the company. Under SF570, you have seen about what material uncertainty. Let's say an example can be there is material uncertainty with respect to the entity's going concern. So that is having an adverse effect on the functioning of the company. So auditor is going to mention all that. ठीक है? Not applicable है तो भी mention करना. ठीक है? Whether any director is disqualified from being appointed as the director of the company under subsection 2 of section 164. अगर disqualified है तो कैसे लिखेंगे? So and so director is disqualified. नहीं है तो none of the director is disqualified. Mention तो करना ही है. Any qualification, reservation, adverse remark relating to maintenance of account. Maintenance of account कहाँ है? Section 128 में and 129 में and other matters connected therewith. अगर there is no adverse remark, then also क्या लिखना है? Not applicable. ठीक है? So we have done the 9 points with respect to section 143 subsection 3. अभी I'll not start with this next point. है ना? नहीं, we have done 8 points. ठीक है? 2 points are left. So अभी I'll not start with the next point because many of you are saying, मैम आज का टॉपिक थोड़ा सा heavy हो गया है. हाँ स्टूडेंट्स हो गया because these are what statutory provisions. लॉ है ना. तो लॉ को ठीक है अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो है बट लर्निंग भी चाहिएगी. फॉर दिस यू विल हैव टू गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल अगेन एंड अगेन. ठीक है. तो आज हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा? 140 पढ़ा, रिमूवल, रेजिग्नेशन एंड गिविंग ऑफ स्पेशल नोटिस. सेक्शन 177 ऑडिट कमिटी पढ़ा. सेक्शन 143 सबसेक्शन 141 सबसेक्शन 3 क्लॉज जी, सीलिंग ऑन नंबर ऑफ ऑडिट्स पढ़ा. एंड देन वी स्टार्टेड विद सेक्शन 143 जिसमें हमने 146 में भी कवर किया right and duty to attend the general meeting, है ना. And we have done all the powers and rights and duties में अभी we are left with certain duties. ठीक है. ठीक है. So is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. यहाँ तक clear है. अभी I am not taking these points because ये थोड़ा और heavy हो जाएगा because many of you are saying मैम आज के लिए हो गया. ठीक है. See students, I am on page number 10.38. यहाँ पर अगर आप देखोगे ना, तो this point is for with respect to chapter 13. तो ये तो अभी हम नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. ठीक है. ठीक है. Then point number 5 onwards is done, already covered in chapter number 5. ठीक है. तो यहाँ तक भी I am not doing. ठीक है. This is Caro 2020 की बात होती है. तो ये हम नेक्स्ट सेशन में डील करेंगे. ये हम essay 600 के साथ रीड करेंगे. ठीक है. So only few points of this topic is left, which we'll be covering in the next session. Maybe 15-20 minutes लगेंगे, and thereafter we'll be starting with a very interesting and very important topic of reporting under CARO. One short question out of this topic. ठीक है. So with this, again reminding you that before coming for the next session, you are supposed to go through the module. And now you have 2 days now, Sunday and Monday. So go through the module in entirety till page number 10.36. Okay? And then we will have a detailed discussion on Caro, and we will finish off with duties in the next session. Okay? So thank you and good night, and start studying. Okay? Read the module and then come for the next session. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.